this
There
again.
you
How about now?
are.
Hi, here I am. Okay, so we're starting again. So welcome. So we've been going today through the seven touchstones of creativity for my book, and we are on touchstone number 6, and this one is all about hearing our inner callings and connecting with purpose and passion. And so you and I have known each other for, I don't know, a couple of years now.
Couple years. Yeah.
Yeah, you joined a flow challenge. I forget what year, but anyway, you've been
Yeah.
doing my flow challenges for a while now. And I thought, do you want to just share a little bit about the first flow challenge you did and what your experience has been like?
Sure, sure. So I was introduced to you through my friend Carrie, who on a walk one day, I was telling her that I was having such a challenging time prioritizing creativity. It just did not match up with productivity in my life. And having just come off retirement, I was all into productivity and couldn't seem to find the discipline to keep at um, working on creativity. So Carrie said, I know the perfect person. Introduced me to you, and I jumped onto your flow challenge immediately. And the first thing I chose back then was to take a photo every day and post it on an Instagram. And the reason why that was a little bit of a leap for me was because I was very judgy about my photographs and always felt like, it's not good enough to post online. But it was like, nope, you gotta do this every day. So I was so worried that I wouldn't find a good photograph every day to post. But what I realized when I was in the flow, that things were emerging and pointing themselves out to me that I hadn't seen before. So I was developing an eye for seeing things that I hadn't previously had. And I think you'll remember I took this photo, it was kind of an odd one, of weeds that I had pulled off of my dog. And normally most people would just toss out the weeds and not think much of them. But I looked at them and they were so unusual. They were little corkscrews with a little arrow tip, and they were fascinating to me. So I laid them all out and photographed them. Um, and they were very cool. They were sort of this abstract, wonderful photo. So I realized that, like, following that I several things in nature I started taking pictures of. These were always out in nature. And they were things that often aren't revealed to people. Uh, and I think I was sort of drawn to them because they were unseen. And it was almost like the plant was talking to me and saying, take my picture. I know I look really kind of dull and brown and not very interesting to people, but I am interesting. Take a picture of me. So
Oh,
and I followed that calling, and it has put me towards where I am today, which is in a class where I'm developing those skills even more so. A fiber arts class with taking natural materials and putting them together and possibly photographing them. So I'm thrilled that that original flow challenge, even though I've taken several other ones, led me to where I'm at today.
I just love that. That's sort of what happened with me as well when I first started doing these just to manage my own stress during the pandemic. It was just to write a little bit every day because I used to love to write, and it's the same thing. It almost feels like once we get into flow, we become directed by this inner intuitive guide that's a creator and guides us to things that we wouldn't normally have chosen for ourselves. Like for me, I started writing poetry, and that's how my book, which includes a lot of prompts and exercises for my workshop, but what started it all out was this body of poetry, and I had never written poetry before, never really saw myself as a poet, never, it just sort of poems sort of started coming, and because it was just a flow challenge, you just write whatever
Right.
comes, and don't think you'll use it not creating for a product, but just being in the process and being in the flow. And it's amazing how that almost directs us and takes us. We go faster somewhere. It just might not be where we thought we were wanting to go with either retirement or, the second chapter of my work. So
Yeah.
I love that.
So true. And then it's just like trusting that process of flow, that it is going to take you somewhere. You're maybe not sure where it's going to go, but if you let go and not judge it, then it's just so magical.
Mm,
It reveals itself.
yeah. I love it. Yeah, I loved hearing that you're, taking that course, and now as you're thinking about re-entering the job market, I hear you saying that this is really a priority. Like this is core to the essence of who I am. It's core to your wellness, but it's almost like you've uncovered a huge number of gifts that you've always had, but this ability to see the something in
Yeah.
what others just pass by, whether it's the weeds or whatever, it just seems like that is part of your, we have these unique gifts. And I always say, there could be, 10 million people doing the same thing we do, but there really is no such thing as competition because we each have our own stories, we each have our own DNA and biology, and we each have our own set of experiences that we bring to it. And I really believe that we each have a unique gift that no one else has, but it might not be something that we can put in words that the real world recognizes. Like I like to see myself as a writer, but lots of people are writers, lots of people have that gift. And if we look through that lens, it's easy to poo-poo it, or it's easy to compare ourselves to others, or get all caught up in what the other writers are doing, and what we should be doing. But when we say, well, I'm not particularly a writer, it's just this whatever, this thing that has no words, but it has a feeling, and that's what I bring to my writing that other people don't, and they bring something to their writing that's completely different than me. So there can be tons of artists, tons of coaches, tons of this, but when we tune into that, it's just like we just relax, and we let go of the needing to be anything or needing to compete with anybody, or we're just not focused on other anymore in a really healthy way. And it's almost like when we let go of comparing ourselves to other or relating to other from the perspective of the inner judge, because when we're in flow, that kind of quiets down, then we can really be open to each other, right? And like within our community, I love the mantra, when we lift each other up, we all rise. Because when we really can do that when we're in a state of flow, because we're not worried about this competition thing. It just dissolves, and we're just connecting to our unique gift. And it sort of feels like the more you're committed to flow, the more you drop down and then drop down and drop down. And so it's like as you're working with your art and taking this course and then that course and going further and getting more and more curious rather than product focused, curious about how what's a unique way you work with this. Or for me, I'm so curious about flow. Basically, that's my passion. It's just, getting curious about, well, if we do this, if we do that, how far can we go with this? And that is just such an adventure then, right?
Oh,
Like then
oh
we're
yeah.
connected with what our calling is an essence or a feeling, or it's just like a waking up every day and following where curiosity is guiding us, and we're staying true to our essence. But often we don't even have words for it, just like in flow, we don't really know exactly what we're doing, but we do. There's part of us that does,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like a
that's
wiser.
why I'm so grateful to you for setting up these flow workshops, because I do think that, dropping down deep and getting curious and letting the judgment drop away is so important. But I needed the discipline to do that. I
Mm.
wasn't being able to impose my own, I don't know, self structuring. Like I just couldn't do it. I needed an outer structure, like you know, saying, okay, you know, sit down 10 minutes every day, just whatever. And sometimes it would be much longer than that. But I really, it's a discipline, and it's a balance between, yeah, you're in flow and you're dropping down and you're exploring your creativity, but there's also the discipline to just getting to that place where you can allow the openness to happen. And that's what I was struggling with, and that's what you gave me. And that's also how I see I thrive in a class too, where there's expectations for me. I mean, everyone's different. You know, some people are able to um, be very self-disciplined. When it came to creativity, I was not.
Mhm.
I realized that about myself. I need outer structure, and I need someone, you know, kind of saying, okay, here's the carrot, you know, and you can do this. You can get that far. Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes, whatever it is, just start little. And, you know, that was the carrot that I needed, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why I started the flow challenges too. It's like I just challenged myself, okay, for 28 days, however I came up with that. You know, I mean, I know there's all different theories about how long it takes to create a habit. But what I love about 28 days, I mean, here we are in the only month with 28 days, right? But what I love about 28 days is it fits within the structure of a month. Right. And so
yep.
but I needed that discipline too. And so I began by giving it to myself, which is how I invented the
Mm,
28-day flow challenge. You know, okay, we're in the pandemic. My kids are stressed out. I'm stressed out. What can I do for my self-care in this world where everything's changing? You know, I can't interact necessarily with the outside world. And on one hand, it was a great gift because I had all this new time, you know, at home with my family. But on the other hand, I really needed that structure too. And that's how this all started. But there is something to community, right? Like once I invited, you know, I did it for a few weeks and saw how much it was helping me, and then invited friends, and friends invited friends, and it started to grow very organically. But the more people that join and the more formal it's become, and now that I send out, you know, the daily emails with, you know, flow tips and inspiration, and that there's something about the energy of the community, like when we're all in this together and we're all committing, but it's very soft, right? It's very honoring that each individual has their own process. So it's about discovering your own unique process rather than putting what's worked for me onto your process. That's part of what it's about, right? So we're like supporting and celebrating each other in getting into flow in whatever form that takes right now, knowing that each month really is different, right? I mean, two people, I'm sure there's more, but who have participated in this 28-day leap challenge got sick, really sick in the middle of it. And that is its own thing, you know, because you're like chugging away and you're getting momentum and you're feeling good. And then, you know, what happens when life happens, you
yeah.
know, and we have to adapt and we have to pivot and we have to lessen our activity to a 1 minute. And but just how do we keep our momentum going
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
real life, right? And that is the power of community and having friends. That it's like the energy of flow is a soft holding, right? It's not rigid ever.
Mm-hmm.
But there are boundaries, right? And there are this framework where we're trying to push ourselves beyond our comfort zone, but never in a shaming way. And so that something for me also, I really resonate with what you're saying about discipline, and then that this holding of the community, like holding ourselves accountable
Yeah.
without shame. Like if we don't do it, it's like whatever, you don't do it. But there is some, it's like we're stepping forward and saying, yes, I want this. I want this for myself. And then the community's like, yeah, remember you want this, you know, you
Yeah.
want this. Like, so we check in with each
To be
other.
there to cheer you
That's
on, right?
right.
They're in the same place, and it just ends up building this momentum and this expansiveness because you're sharing this with other people. And like you said, it's everyone has their unique gifts that they're bringing, and you know there's no comparison about what everyone's doing, but there's just that support that you know is out there. There's other people doing this. How
Yeah.
cool is that?
And it's very cool. I get to see the behind the scenes, so I always invite people to share, but I say you can share things with me privately that I won't share with the community. I always get permission before I share people's photos or what they share. But then there's all these silent people, and I frequently have people that share and they say, "Oh, I've been doing your flow challenges for 3 years now." And they're from the other side of the world, from a whole different country. And I find that so beautiful, and it does build momentum where, month after month or challenge after challenge, we build our energy. And sometimes it takes a while to build our energy to want to reach out and connect with the community consciously. But what I love about it is we're always connected unconsciously, and the synchronicities are amazing. So even if we don't know specifically who on the email list is doing it this month, there's something invisible that is at work, so there's 1 month I got a DM from someone who was doing it, who shared a dream with me, and the symbolism in the dream was exactly the same symbols as the same day I got a private email from another person participating, both of whom asked me to keep the information private, both of whom were on the opposite sides of the world, both of whom didn't know the other person was doing the flow challenge. And the person in the private email said, "I don't draw, but for some reason today, I felt led to sketch." So this is just between you and me because I'm self-conscious as a drawer. She was doing a different but I just wanted to share my little sketch. And her sketch was the exact symbolism as the other person's DM.
Oh my God.
And both asked me to keep it secret, and of course I do. And so the contents I would never share, but the fact that they both came in the same day, they were both identical symbols. I was like, there is something higher at work. There is the truth to this universal flow, this idea of this universal flow, and that when we support each other and we step into the flow and we're doing our thing, if we even just have the intention that we're doing this within community, I feel just that intention energizes those connections. And we all know, I mean, there's new species being discovered every day, that we didn't know existed. And so there is so much that we don't know about that's happening. I'm sure there's some scientific explanation for this or not, or we'll never know. But the fact is, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that these connections between us are at work in some higher way that we'll never know. We'll never know. So
100% believe
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so incredible. Well, we're coming to the end in time. I have to go on Zoom for a meditation, but before we go, I have enough time. We have about 5 more minutes, and I would absolutely love it if there's anything that you've been creating that you want to share. No pressure, you don't have to, but if you want to show us any of your artwork from the course,
Well,
and it's okay to say
no,
no. So what we
I'm happy. I mean, I am taking a class now that is a serious class at the College of Marin. It's all day on Fridays. And, there's some serious artists in there, and I have never considered myself an artist. And there are critiques. So, it's very humbling to put your piece up on a wall and have other students critique it. This is a big leap for me, to just be okay with maybe not getting it right. But my first piece, I think it's going to be hard to share, that I presented last week was hugely successful. And the instructor, let's see, maybe I can show you this. So I only recently started working. Hold on one sec. See if I can. Let me hold on one second. And I'm going to see if I can do this. Hold on. So can I turn that around? Let's see. Hold on. There. Oh, it's kind of hard to
Oh
see.
yeah, I can see. I think.
Yeah, hard to see. Anyway, so that is a date palm frond, right? And it kind of looks like a shield and or a breastplate, whatever you want to call it. And I've decorated it with lots of seeds and things that I've collected from nature. Um, and the second piece that I worked on was using these date palm fronds.
For some reason, I can't hear you, Kathy. I'm not sure if other people can. Oh,
Let's see. Let me make sure.
there you are.
There.
You're good.
Okay. Okay. So, oops, hold on a sec. Anyway, so the piece that I just submitted for class was made with these same palm fronds, and they were made into a set of angel wings, huge angel wings, like about 4.5 feet across.
Wow.
And I was so thrilled because the teacher said, who's been teaching for about 45 years, said, I've seen a lot of people work with these materials, but this is by far the best I've ever seen. And
Oh,
it's worthy of being in a gallery. And so I was shocked. It was like,
oh,
oh my God, really?
that's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Look
So,
at you. You're leaping and see what happens when you leap?
right? I mean, that was such a leap for me to do. And yeah, so exciting to have that kind of acknowledgement.
Yeah.
But it's okay because what I've gotten from you is even if I didn't have the acknowledgement from the teacher that it was really a good piece, I loved creating it.
Mhm.
I absolutely loved the act of creation on this particular piece. So it wouldn't have mattered if no one liked it, although I knew it was beautiful. It was like angel wings. They're gorgeous, right? So
Yeah.
that was truly an amazing moment for me last Friday.
Oh, I love it. And you know what I think it speaks to when someone's in flow, we recognize
Yeah.
it. You know, when a little child is twirling and playing on the playground and they're just completely in their own world and they're not aware of anybody else, there is such a magic to it that people just stop and just look, you know, and it's the same with performers and artists and writers. It's like we can sense things that have been created in flow and things that have been created with that, rigidity of and we need both. Obviously, we need the editor and we need the person that cleans up the supplies afterwards, and we need the creator and the flow.
Yep.
But I do think there is a magic in that energy that we were talking about before that's almost miraculous and synchronistic that just guides you to pick up the seed or whatever happened as you were creating those angel wings. It almost feels like, okay, you were in flow. And it's just that the acknowledgement is like when you're in your intuitive self and when you're sparkly and when you're following where your callings are leading you to go, the world can't help but notice.
I
The world can't help but celebrate.
I know I almost wanted to say I was in flow when I created this piece. You just acknowledged it.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing and having the courage to share your work and just sharing yourself and being here. I'm grateful always when, synchronistically we come together and I get to meet people like you. And so I'm, thankful that you shared your photos in the very first session and that you continue to give me updates as you do these flow challenges. So, yeah.
It's love working with you, Lori. It's been life changing for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so grateful too.
Absolutely.
So good. Well, I have 1 minute to get on Zoom, so I'm going to go and meditate.
All
And thank you again.
right. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.